Hey there, sports fans. How we doing? I'm Jim. Welcome to 10 Yards Back, the YouTube channel for my predictions, review videos for round 10 of the Betfred Super League. We're in double figures already. Can you believe it? We're in double figures, and probably half the roster still haven't played because they're all bloody injured. And that's the curse of 2026, isn't it? These videos did quite well last week, so let's keep that momentum going. Let's give it a like, a subscribe, a comment. Let's make friends. Let's have a couple of words in the comments down below, and that'll help the channel, help me to make more of these, or at least encourage me, won't it? Right, round 10. There are 7 games in round 10. I really want to watch 2 of them, and they're on at the same time. No, you know, it is what it is. This one's a bit of a simmerer, isn't it, before the Challenge Cup? So in this video, I'm going to focus on probably the game of the weekend, and that is the Leeds Rhinos hosting the Wakefield Trin, the Battle of the M1, the West Yorkshire Warriors. Are they both West Yorkshire? I don't know. It's a rivalry, isn't it? Wakefield versus Leeds. They're always after each other. Wakefield are always after Leeds. I think if you take Super League and the 150 years or whatever of rugby league on average, I'm going to say that probably en masse, Wakefield have been chasing Leeds a little bit here. But this 2026 gives us a season where they're both kind of coming at it in good form, aren't they? So they're both going to want this one. Of course, they would want it anyway, regardless who the teams are, but they're both really going to want this one. So I think the atmosphere is going to be amazing at Headingley, and the players are going to be really up for it, especially looking at the current form. Now, they're both 4 from 5, interestingly. Wakefield just sort of ended their run, the reign of terror last week against Saints. Lost by 6 points. Didn't concede any tries in the second half though, so that's worth pointing out there that second place Saints didn't score on them. Leeds, however, if you look at the points differences here that Leeds have been putting up, yeah, they're pretty impressive, aren't they? Leeds really are flying at the minute through Sevo. Croft is a different player than I've ever seen him, and that includes his Man of Steel year at Salford. So both teams in reasonable form. One sort of on the up, even if you look at the points, they're just scoring more and more, aren't they? Wakefield still reeling, still confident, still strong, still can do it. Look at the stats of the season. Wakefield have prided themselves recently on being the best defence in the league, which, that may or may not be true. So the best defence in the league, but they're only conceding on average 1 less point than Leeds are. Leeds are on 15, Wakefield on 14 there. They're making a lot more tackles, about 100 metres less a game. So at Leeds they've got about 30 more carries, which is about 6 more sets, 5-6 more sets than Wakefield. So all this is kind of tending towards a possession battle. It sort of just says Leeds, on paper, are simply going to try to roll over you. Just get on the front foot and just keep going, relentless, right? So this teams, right? Wakefield have. I made a point last week of saying Wakefield are weird because they've got such a good bench, and I don't know when they got the bench, when they built up that roster of players that can just pull on a shirt and do a number any day of the week. But it just seems like Wakefield, Daryl Powell at Wakefield sort of started the trend this year, saying, hey, you know what, I haven't got any injuries at the minute. I'm just going to rest people anyway. I'm going to make sure that everyone gets a nice rest, has a cup of tea on a Friday night instead of getting involved in combat. But it's biting them now. I think everyone's going to get it. It's going to come around to everyone. Everyone's going to have their injury crisis. Saints have had theirs. We're going to have had theirs. It's Wakefield's turn now. I think 'cause if you look at the players that we've got out, Jowett, Johnston, Nicotimo, Jazz Tavanga, Vanganar, Wormsley, Doyle. Compare that to the players that are available for Leeds. Simpson, who's played one game in 2 years, I think. Edgell, all right, he did a number last year a couple of times on the wing. He was all right, and George Brown, don't know. So injury wise, like Leeds have got their starting 13 and pretty much any sub that they could ever want to pick from in that roster. It's a bit of a weird one. I crunched some numbers on those that are unavailable for Wakefield, because Wakefield, they're doing so good now that everyone's starting to look at them. You might not notice, but you might not notice that, okay, the players that they're missing though really are amazing, really high quality players. So what I've done, I've sort of taken Wormsley and Doyle out. All right, Wormsley last year was on fire, not really favoured so much this year. If you combine those players, if you average the first five, let's just take the first five as a player. If they were all the exact same player and you had five of them, that's a player that scores about a half a try a game, makes 18 tackles, runs for 90 meters, makes it 12-ish carries, and makes about 8 meters a carry, which is that's a good player. I'd want that player in my squad. It gets even better when you compare the backs. And you look at the average them all as one is fine, but look at the backs. Jowett and Johnston, on average between them, 117 meters a game, 15 carries. They make about 8.5 meters every time they run the ball. I don't have anything on kick return meters, but I bet that is huge. The forwards, similarly, if that was a forward or three of the same forwards, 72 meters, not to be sniffed at, but 30 tackles they're getting. Like these are really good players. And if you put the people that they're replacing them with, probably Rourke, Myers, I've lost my words now. Pitts, those players, they're good, but there is a significant drop off in the stats when you compare those players. Now that doesn't mean that stats are on paper, games are on grass, but this is just to contextualize what Wakefield have out this week compared to what Leeds actually have available. So this is my sort of idea of how the squads will probably line up. I don't think anyone's resting anyone this week. I think this is a game that both clubs are going to want. Thank you. Both clubs are going to want, so they're going to put their teams out. Leeds 1-13, perfect. You've got Jack Bird in there at centre instead of Harry Newman, who I don't even know where he plays anymore. Is he at Hull? Is he at Leeds? I don't know. Wakefield, you've got Rourke in. Now, Rourke, even though he wears the number 22, I think he is a starting fullback. So that's no mean substitution. Myers on the wing instead of Johnston. Now, he's learning his craft, Myers, and he's doing very well. Played a blinder at Saints last week, actually. I think he ran for about 160 metres. And he's going to have to do that again this week, unfortunately. Jay Pitt's in at loose, but it's when you start looking at the pack, the pack that they've got the subs that are great. I just think the pack is what's going to be the decider here, and I'll explain myself. So both of these teams pride themselves on their kick returns, right? Johnston, Pratt, Jowett, Rourke, even Myers now. I'm going to add Myers to that list. If these are all players that you do not want to kick to, and apart from Jackson Hastings last week, Saints, I don't think anyone's quite figured out yet exactly how you kick to Wakefield to avoid them just chewing up meters and meeting you back on halfway. Leeds have the same thing. Like Leeds have got Lackey Miller, Mike Acevo, Ryan Holt. Like that's, You know what? I'm going to be generous here. I'm going to put them two back lines up against each other with a fully fit squad. You got Myers in there. He's, you're kind of blooding him, and Pratt is very, very skillful. Loads of tackle busts and breaks, but I'm not sure he quite brings that Johnston-ness with him, and he doesn't have to normally because Johnson's on the field with him, but in this he has to. The difference between these two, and this is why I've got Mason Lino in the side this week instead of Sinfield. Jake Connor is the best general in Super League at the minute. His team know exactly where he wants to kick it. He knows exactly where he wants to kick it, and wherever he wants to kick it, that's where it goes. The amount of I've said it, sick of saying it. The amount of time that ball spends in the air is such an advantage to a defensive line to get up there and meet you in the face. So both teams are going to focus on kick returns and getting up there. So really, Wakefield's job here in this game is they need to focus on making meters, effective meters, yeah, but just any meters will do. Just make them, just make the meters, and keep hold of the ball, because we just saw there in the the stats were sort of saying Leeds are probably going to have 6 more sets than you this game, in all likelihood. If just averages are the way it goes, Leeds are going to have 6 more sets than you this game. So you need to make sure that when you've got those, when you've got those sets and you end them really well. And I think that Mason Lino is the player to do that for Wakefield in the area of the field that we're talking about. Chewing up meters, get to halfway. You're probably ending most of your sets on 40, 30 meters against this team. End them well, end them thoughtfully, and make sure everybody else is on board. Something that Wakey did really well last week, I thought, was they pivoted at half time and they sort of changed their end of set philosophy from kicking it right down Tristan Saylor's throat to actually doing a little bit more ball playing, a little bit, confusing the defensive line a little bit through Truman. Truman's kind of, pulling the strings on that one. So that's either keep hold of it and try and run it at the line, or maybe get 2 or 3 passes out before the kick. And it's dangerous to do that, because if you cough up the ball here, you're handing it over, and like I just said, Leeds love possession. But the closer they are to your line, Leeds, the less power they have in that attacking kick, in that positional kicking. So for me, Wakey, I'm going to say keep hold of the ball, end your sets well. High completion rate is going to maybe not win you this game, but at least keep you in the fight. Leeds, I always do this. I only ever really give one side because I don't really think about one side. I think that this is Leeds' game to lose, and that's why I'm sort of not really, I've not really got any comments on Leeds. The forward pack of Wakefield are insanely good, and they're all good. The bench, the starters, the bench, they're all good. Yes, they're missing Tavanga and Vanganar, but they've got what, Lolosio, Rodwell, McMeekin, Smoothies in at hooker. Then you got Harvey Smith coming on. That's what Leeds needs to be careful of. I mean, Mike McMeekin can do anything he wants these days, can't he? So you need to make sure they wrap them up. Don't focus too much on the flashy stuff, and do your meat and potatoes a little bit in the middle of the field, and you'll win. You probably will win. And I think you'll win to the tune of 24-16. This is a little bit closer. I ran with maths, and it was looking a little bit like a walkover. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than my maths originally suggested. 24-16 is fine. Wakefield not really kicking too well, so that could be 5 tries, with 2 missed kicks or something like that. Who knows? Eh? Right, the rest of the weekend, I think it's there's a couple of foregone conclusions here, isn't there? At the point this goes out, we've already seen Hull KR probably demolish Castleford. Saints going to play York. I'll do a video on that as well. Catalans League, probably do one on that. I mean, Wigan, Bradford, Huddersfield, Warrington. Essentially, this is a week off for all the Challenge Cup, all the Challenge Cuppers next weekend, isn't it? But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of my predictions and my strategies and my coffee drinking. And yeah, like, subscribe. Thank you. Most importantly, enjoy the game.